In the little town of Cedar Falls, Texas, a job notice hung on the general store's board for ages. It said they needed a housekeeper and cook at Blackbriar Ranch with good pay and no questions asked. That paper got old and yellow because nobody around dared to take the job. Wade Langston's ranch looked amazing from far away, big green fields stretching to purple mountains, with horses eating grass in the morning fog. But up close it felt spooky, like a graveyard. Wade hadn't smiled in years, not since his wife died giving birth to their son, who then got sick and died before he turned 3. Then came Ruthie Bellarta, a tough woman with rough hands and nothing to lose. She'd been kicked out of 2 towns for stuff people whispered about, but never said out loud. When she knocked on Wade's door that September morning, she didn't care about his grumpy face or his silence. What happens when 2 hurt people? Find a way to feel better in the strangest place? Before we go on, tell us where you're reading from. And if you like this story, hit subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something super cool for you. The morning sun made long shadows across Cedar Falls' dusty main street as Ruthie Bell Carter climbed off a merchant's wagon. Her old leather bag held all she owned: 2 dresses, a photo of her parents, and $3. The September air smelled like cows and mesquite, reminding her of the farm she lost years ago. Cedar Falls wasn't fancy. Its main street had old shops, with peeling paint under the hot Texas sun, a general store, a saloon, a blacksmith, and a church, the basics of a tired old town. But it was the kind of place where someone with a bad reputation might get a new start if they worked hard. Ruthie touched the small cameo pin on her collar, a gift from her mom before she passed away. The pretty pin looked odd on her plain cotton dress, but it reminded her of her old life, when she was a proper girl with piano lessons and sewing projects. That girl felt like someone else now. "You sure about this, miss?" the merchant asked, looking worried. "Blackbriar Ranch isn't safe for a woman alone. Wade Langston's got a bad name." Ruthie stood tall. "I've heard the rumors, but I need a job, and he needs help. Sounds fair to me." The merchant shook his head but didn't argue. He'd seen too many desperate folks to push her. As his wagon rolled off, Ruthie stood alone, watching dust settle around her boots. The general store's board pulled her in like a magnet. There it was, the faded, fly-specked job notice, just as she'd heard. It read, "Housekeeper and cook needed at Blackbriar Ranch. Good pay, no questions asked. Talk to Wade Langston. You thinking about that job?" Ruthie turned to see an old lady with kind eyes and silver hair in a neat bun. "I'm Sarah Mitchell," she said, holding out her hand. "I run the seamstress shop. I heard you asked about the Langston job when the merchant stopped in Millerville last week." Ruthie shook her hand, surprised by her strong grip. "News spreads fast around here, huh?" "Faster than a fire," Sarah said. "Folks think you're either super brave or kind of crazy. I'm not sure which yet." "Maybe both," Ruthie said with a small smile. "I'm Ruthie Bellarta, and I'm here to take that job if Mr. Langston wants me." Sarah's face got serious. "You know what happened out there, right? Wade was a good guy before the war, before he lost his family. Grief can mess a person up bad. He's not the same man from 10 years ago. I know about his wife and son," Ruthie said softly, "and I know he's tough on his workers. I've dealt with hard men before. This isn't just about being tough," Sarah said. "Wade's given up on life. That ranch is gorgeous, but it's like a tomb. He wanders that big house like a ghost, barely talks, barely eats. Old Pete, the only worker who stayed, says Wade chats more with his horses than people." Ruthie felt a twinge of sadness for this man she'd never met. She knew what it was. Like to carry pain, to feel like the world turned its back on you. Maybe that's why he needs someone who won't quit on him. Sarah looked at her for a long time. "You've got your own story, don't you? The kind that makes a woman take a job nobody wants." "Don't we all?" Ruthie said, not meanly. "But I'm not here to tell sad tales. I'm here to work." "Well, if you're set on this crazy plan, you'll need stuff," Sarah said. "Come to my shop. I've got things you'll need." Sarah's shop was cozy, stuffed with fabric, thread, and creative mess. She bustled around, packing a bag. "Clean aprons," she said, folding them neatly. "A woman's got to look proper, even for tough work." She handed Ruthie a small sewing kit. "You'll need this for fixing things. Big house like that needs a woman's touch." "I can't pay for all this," Ruthie said. Who said anything about paying? Sarah replied. Think of it as a bet. If you last out there, I'll have someone to chat with when you visit town. It gets lonely running a shop alone. Ruthie's eyes got watery from the kindness. It had been forever since someone was nice to her. Thank you, she said quietly. Don't thank me yet, Sarah said. Thank me if you're still there by Christmas. She gave Ruthie the bag and a wrapped package. This is fresh bread and jam. Even a grumpy man's got to eat. The walk to Blackbriar Ranch took about an hour. Ruthie followed a dusty road, through hills with prairie grass and oak trees. The land was tough but pretty, glowing gold under the afternoon sun. She could see why someone would want to live here, away from town drama. As she reached a hilltop, the ranch appeared like a dream. The big house was made of stone and dark wood, with a wide porch wrapping around it. Corrals and barns dotted the land, and far off, cows grazed in fields. It was perfect, except for the quiet. No kids played, no women hung clothes, no laughter came from the house. It was beautiful, but empty. An old man came out of the barn, leading a horse. He was worn out, bow-legged, with kind eyes and a careful way. This had to be old Pete. You the woman from town? He asked nicely. Here for the job? That's me, Ruthie said. Is Mr. Langston around? Pete glanced at the house. He's inside. But miss, if I can say, you might wanna think twice. He ain't been himself since... He stopped, unable to finish. Since he lost his family, Ruthie said gently. I know, but I gotta try. Pete nodded slowly. You seem nice. I'll pray for you both. The front door was solid oak, painted black, with brass that used to shine but was now dull. Ruthie knocked 3 times with the heavy knocker. Slow, footsteps came from inside, like someone didn't want to answer. When the door opened, Wade Langston stood there. He wasn't what she expected. Tall, broad, with dark hair turning gray and stormy gray eyes. He might have been handsome once, but sadness had carved lines in his face. His clothes were clean but messy, his beard neat but silvery. He looked like a man who forgot how to care about himself. Mr. Langston, Ruthie said, keeping her voice steady. I'm Ruthie Bell Carter. I'm here for the job. He stared at her, his face blank. You know what the job is? Housekeeping. And cooking, she said. I can do both. You know the last 3 women who took this job quit? They left, Ruthie said simply. I won't. Something flashed in his eyes. Maybe surprise or doubt. You're pretty sure of yourself for someone who's never worked here. I'm sure I need the job and you need help, she said. We can figure out the rest. He stepped aside without a word, letting her in. The house was amazing. High ceilings, shiny wood floors, fancy furniture. But it felt cold, like nobody lived there. Dust floated in the sunlight coming through big windows. The quiet was so loud it hurt her ears. Kitchen's that way, Wade said, pointing to a door. Your room's upstairs, second door on the left. Job pays $30 a month, meals included. You can quit any time, and I can fire you any time. I get it, Ruthie said. He almost smiled. Fair enough. Want to see the kitchen? The kitchen was huge. A big iron stove, a pump for water, and tons of pots and pans. But it felt lonely. Like the rest of the house. Everything was clean but unused, like nobody cooked here anymore. When did you last eat a real meal? Ruthie asked, noticing the empty counters. I get by, Wade said. That's not what I asked, she said. He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something besides coldness in his eyes. You always this pushy? When it matters. Yeah, she said. If I'm cooking and cleaning for you, I need to know what I'm dealing with. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, I eat when I'm hungry, sleep when I'm tired, work when there's work. That's enough for me. But is it living? She asked. His jaw tightened and his hands clenched. For a second, she thought he'd kick her out. Instead, he said, I'll show you your room. Start tomorrow. As she followed him upstairs, Ruthie touched her cameo pin. She was in deep now, and she planned to make it count. Her room was small but clean, with a bed, a washstand, and a window looking over the ranch. It was better than anything she'd had in months, like a gift. As Wade's footsteps faded down the hall, Ruthie sat on the bed, feeling a bit of hope. Tomorrow, she'd start making this house alive again. Cooking, cleaning, and maybe helping. A sad man feel human again. The sun set over the Texas hills, painting the sky pink and gold. Ruthie had found her place, and she was ready to make it hers. Ruthie woke before sunrise her first day at Blackbriar Ranch, as always. The room was dark, but she heard horses outside and old Pete's boots on the porch. She put on a work dress and headed to the kitchen. The house felt different in the early light, not so much like a grave, more like a home that forgot how to live. She lit the stove, started coffee, and checked the pantry. It was stocked with flour, sugar, fruit preserves, beans, and salt pork. Better than she expected. Someone kept this place ready, even if they didn't use it. She could make a real breakfast, the kind to fill a working man and remind him food isn't just for surviving. She was mixing biscuit dough when Wade came. Downstairs, dressed for work, his hair wet from washing, his face shaved. He looked more alive than yesterday. "Morning," he said, his voice rough from sleep. "Good morning, Mr. Langston," Ruthie said. "Coffee's ready and breakfast is almost done." He poured a cup and stood by the window, watching the ranch as the sky turned pink. "You don't have to cook for me. I'm used to getting by." "Getting by isn't eating right," Ruthie said, putting biscuits in the oven. "A man needs good food to work hard all day." "I've been fine on my own," he said. "Have you?" She looked at him, seeing his too loose clothes and tired eyes. "When did you last eat 3 meals in a day?" He didn't answer, which said enough. Ruthie cooked eggs with cream from the cellar and fried bacon just right. When she set his plate down, he hesitated over his fork. "It's been a while since someone cooked for me," he said quietly. "Then it's about time," she said. They ate quietly, with only the clink of forks and birds singing outside. When Wade finished, he looked surprised, like he'd forgotten what it felt like to be full. "Thank you," he said, and she heard a tiny bit of warmth in his voice. After he left for work, Ruthie got to work. The house was big, 8 rooms. Downstairs, 6 upstairs. It was clean but shut off like parts were closed to life. She started downstairs, opening windows for fresh air, dusting furniture that shined under its dust. In the parlor, she found signs of Wade's lost family. A tiny rocking chair sat in a corner, perfect for a child. Next to it was a dusty basket. That might have held toys. On the mantel, empty spots in the dust showed where photos used to be. Upstairs was where the real sadness lived. Wade's room was plain and super neat, but the room next to it stopped her cold. The door wasn't locked. Inside was a nursery, a crib with neat sheets, a changing table, a dresser painted with happy animals, a shelf of picture books, and a little wooden horse on the windowsill, carved with so much care. Ruthie picked up the horse, feeling its smooth wood. It was beautiful, with a flowing mane and strong legs. Wade's work, she was sure, made for his son with love. "What are you doing in here?" Wade's voice was sharp and close behind her. She hadn't heard him come up. His face was angry and hurt. "I was cleaning," Ruthie said calmly, though her heart raced. "Opening the house, letting in light." "This room stays closed," he said, his voice tight. "It doesn't need cleaning. It doesn't need anything." "Mr. Langston," she said, still holding the horse. "Put that down," he said, staring at it like it burned him. "Put it down and get out." Ruthie set the horse back gently but didn't leave. "This was your son's room." "Don't," he said, his voice breaking. "What was his name?" His fists clenched. "I said don't!" "He was real, Mr. Langston," she said. "He lived here, played with this horse you made. Pretending he didn't exist won't bring him back, but it doesn't honor him either." "You don't know anything about it," he said, his voice raw. "You don't know what it's like to lose everyone you love?" "Don't I?" Ruthie said softly but firmly. "You think I came here from an easy life? You think I haven't lost people?" He stared at her, really seeing her for the first time, like she might understand pain. "His name was Thomas," he said finally, like the words hurt. "Tommy." "He'd be 5 last month. My wife, Elizabeth, died giving birth to him." She bled out while I held her hand, promising everything would be okay. His laugh was sad. "We had 3 years with him, watching him grow, teaching him to walk, hearing him laugh. Then a fever took him and I couldn't do anything. Ruthie's eyes stung. I'm so sorry. Everyone's sorry, he said. Sorry doesn't bring them back. It doesn't fill the quiet or make life worth living. No, she agreed. But hiding from their memory doesn't help either. His anger flared. What do you want me to do? Sit here and hurt myself with what I lost? I'd want you to remember you loved them and they loved you, she said. Honor that love, don't bury it. You've been here one day, he said coldly. One day, and you think you can tell me how to feel? I think you've been hurting for 4 years, and it's eating you alive, she said, stepping closer like he was a hurt animal. You're so scared to let go of the pain. You forgot how to live. Maybe I don't want to live without them, he said, his words heavy and honest. Ruthie touched his arm gently. They wouldn't want that for you, would they? Elizabeth and Tommy wouldn't want you to stop living because they're gone. His face broke, and she thought he might cry. Instead, he pulled himself together. Clean the rest of the house, he said, his voice steady again. But leave this room alone. That's not a request. He left her in the nursery, surrounded by signs of love and loss. Ruthie looked at the tiny clothes in the drawers, the unopened books, the wooden horse, waiting for a boy who'd never come back. She understood why Wade was the way he was. He wasn't mean, he was broken. And broken things could be fixed if someone cared enough. But first, he had to want to heal, and that might be the toughest part. The days after their nursery talk settled into a quiet routine. Wade was polite but distant, eating her meals and letting her clean without much talk. Ruthie respected his space, but slowly made the house feel like a home again. While looking for baking stuff in the kitchen, she found an old recipe book hidden behind jars. Its pages were old and stained, filled with neat handwriting. The first page read, Elizabeth Langston's Kitchen, with love from Mother, 1859. Ruthie touched the recipes, cornbread, apple pie, pot roast, dishes that once made this house warm. She could imagine Elizabeth at this stove, using these pages to feed her family. That night, Ruthie made Elizabeth's cornbread, following a note that said to add extra salt and that Tommy loved it with honey butter. When she served it to Wade, he stopped, his fork halfway to his mouth. Where'd you get this recipe? He asked quietly. In the kitchen, she said. I hope it's okay. I thought you'd like something different from biscuits. He took a bite, closed his eyes, and she saw pain hit him hard. She made this every Sunday after church, he said. Tommy would eat 3 pieces if we let him. Ruthie stayed quiet, letting him remember. After a moment, he opened his eyes and looked at her, maybe grateful. It tastes just like hers, he said. Good recipes are meant to be used, she said softly. Your wife wouldn't want them forgotten. Over the next weeks, Ruthie got used to ranch life. She woke early to cook breakfast, cleaned and mended in the mornings, and explored the ranch in the afternoons. It was huge. 3,000 acres of hills and grass, with a creek running through it. One day, she met the horses. Blackbriar's herd was stunning, sleek quarter horses with smart eyes. They weren't scared of her, and when she reached out to a mare, it sniffed her hand before letting her pet it. She likes you, old Pete said, appearing beside her. That's Rosie. She's picky about people. She's beautiful, Ruthie said, petting the mare. They all are, Pete said. Wade's got a knack for horses. They're his pride. What's left of it? He tipped his hat against the sun. What did you do before you came here? Helped run my dad's farm before he died, Ruthie said. We had cattle and horses. I know animals. That explains why they like you, Pete said. You planning to stay? I hope so, she said. Why? Because Wade needs someone who won't give up on him, she said. He's been alone too long, carrying all that sadness. It's made him tough. Pete's voice softened. I knew his wife from when she came here as a bride, sweet as summer rain. She made Wade laugh, real laughs, not the bitter ones now. And Tommy, that boy was his dad's light. Wade taught him to ride before he could walk, carried him around the ranch every evening. A noise from the road interrupted them. A rider came fast, kicking up dust. It was a young man, his face serious. Pete, he called, pulling up his horse. Where's Mr. Langston? I got news from town. Wade came out of the barn, alert. What is it, Jimmy? "It's the Becker place, sir," Jimmy said. "Silas, Morton offered cash for it yesterday, full price. Old man Becker's thinking of selling." Wade's face turned hard. "No way. That land's next to mine." "Yes, sir," Jimmy said. "And Morton's asking about more than just Becker's. Land, property values, water rights, stuff like that." Ruthie saw Wade's fists clench. "Silas Morton," he said, like the name was a curse. "I should have known he'd show up." "Who's Silas Morton?" Ruthie asked. Wade's face was grim. "Someone I used to know. Someone I thought I left behind." He looked at Jimmy. "Any word on if Becker's decided?" "Not yet, sir," Jimmy said. "But Morton's throwing money around town, making friends. Folks say he's got big plans." After Jimmy left, Wade stared toward his land's southern edge, his jaw tight. Ruthie stepped closer. "Is Morton bad news?" "The worst," Wade said, not turning. "We fought in the war together. I saved his life once. Biggest mistake I ever made." He was quiet a moment. "Silas doesn't just want land. He wants to control everything and everyone. If he gets a piece of this area, what'll you do?" Ruthie asked. Wade's smile was cold. "I'll fight him, like I should have years ago." That night, as Ruthie cooked beef stew from Elizabeth's recipe book, she thought about what Pete said about Wade's happier days. It was hard to picture him laughing, carrying his son around. At dinner, Wade barely ate, his mind on Morton. "The recipe says this was Tommy's favorite," Ruthie said, breaking the quiet. Wade looked up, surprised. "She wrote that?" "Yeah," Ruthie said. "She wrote notes about what you both liked, tips for special meals. She wanted her recipes to keep your family happy. She never thought she wouldn't be here to cook them," Wade said, his voice heavy. "Maybe not," Ruthie said, "but she made sure you'd have her love in every meal, even if she couldn't serve it." Wade stared at his bowl for a long time. "Morton won't stop with Becker's land," he said. "Once he gets in, he'll come for everything, including this ranch." "Then we'll make sure he doesn't," Ruthie said. Wade looked surprised. "We? I've got a stake here now, too," she said, meeting his eyes. "This is my home, Mr. Langston. I won't let anyone take it without a fight." For the first time, Wade almost smiled. "You might be more trouble than I expected, Miss Carter." "I hope so," she said, and this time he smiled for real, a small, true smile, like the first light after a long night. The next Sunday, Ruthie found Wade in his workshop behind the barn. She'd been looking for him to ask about canning supplies when she heard wood being carved. Through the open door, she saw him working on a piece of oak, his hands skilled and steady. The workshop was amazing. Shelves of neat tools, half-finished, projects under cloth, and finished pieces that took her breath away. Carved picture frames, a fancy jewelry box, a rocking chair fit for a mansion. Wade looked up as she came closer, stopping his work. "I was just—" he started, then stopped like he couldn't explain. "This is amazing work," Ruthie said, touching the rocking chair. "You made all this?" He nodded, cautious. "It's just something to keep my hands busy." But Ruthie saw it was more. The care in every detail showed a man trying to make something beautiful in a world full of loss. On the workbench was a small wooden cross, polished and perfect. "This is for their graves," she said softly, not a question. Wade's hands tightened on his tools. The church's markers were plain. "They deserved better." "They did," she said. "This is beautiful. They'd be honored." He looked surprised, like he expected her to judge him. "You don't think it's silly? Making something for people who can't see it?" "I think love doesn't stop when someone dies," she said. "Making something beautiful for them is a great way to remember them." They stood quietly, sunlight warming the wood shavings on the floor. "I should let you work," Ruthie said. "I just needed to ask about apple canning supplies." "Take what you need from the pantry," Wade said. "And Ruthie, thank you for understanding." That night, visitors came. Ruthie was cleaning after dinner when she heard horses. Through the window, she saw a man and woman, dressed fancy and unfamiliar. Wade answered the door, and she heard his sharp breath. "Sarah," he said, his voice tight. "Didn't expect you." "Hello, Wade," the woman said, her voice fancy, like from a big city. "Can we come in?" Ruthie stepped into the hall as Wade led them to the parlor. The woman, Sarah was pretty, with golden hair and a dress worth more than Ruthie's yearly pay. The man, Charles, was older, with a bossy air. Ruthie, this is Sarah Morrison, Sarah Whitman now, and her husband Charles, Wade said stiffly. This is Miss Carter, my housekeeper. Sarah looked Ruthie over politely. Nice to meet you, Miss Carter. We're old friends of Wade's from before the war. The room felt tense, like a storm was coming. Wade stood apart, stiff, while Sarah sat like she might run. We're heading to San Antonio, Charles said, trying to ease the awkwardness. Thought we'd stop by. I'm doing fine, Wade said shortly. The ranch looks good, Sarah said, looking around. You've done well, have I? Wade's smile was bitter. Depends on what you call success. Ruthie went to get coffee but could hear them talking. It was clear Sarah was more than a friend. There was a messy, painful history. I heard about Elizabeth and the baby, Sarah said as Ruthie came back. I'm so sorry, Wade. I know you wanted a family. Wade's face paled. Did you? I remember you saying I was too serious about settling down when you broke our engagement. The words hit like a slap. Sarah's hands shook as she took her coffee. That was different, she said quietly. We were young. I wasn't ready for a ranch in the middle of nowhere with a man who only had dreams. Wade finished for her. I remember. Charles coughed. Maybe we should talk about something else. Actually, Sarah said, lifting her chin, there's something else, Wade. I heard about Silas Morton's plans here. Charles has business contacts who could help if Morton's a problem. I can handle Morton, Wade said coldly. You don't get it, Sarah said. He's not the man you knew in the war. He's powerful now, ruthless. He ruins people who get in his way. Let him try, Wade said. Wade, please, Sarah said, her eyes serious. I made a mistake years ago, choosing safety over love. I've regretted it every day. When I heard about your family, what you've been through, she paused. Charles and I aren't happy. We could start over, you and me, somewhere new. The room went silent. Ruthie's heart stopped, her hands frozen on the coffee pot. This fancy woman was offering Wade a chance to go back to his old life, something Ruthie could never give him. Wade stood slowly, his face hard. You need to leave, he said quietly. Wade, no, he said firmly. You made your choice 8 years ago, Sarah. I made mine when I married Elizabeth. She's gone. But that doesn't mean I'm free for your regrets. Sarah's face fell. You're all alone here, Wade. This isn't living. It's just existing. Maybe, he said, but it's my choice. After they left, Wade watched their carriage disappear into the dusk. Ruthie cleared the coffee, her hands shaky. You don't have to clean now, Wade said, not turning. It's okay, Ruthie said. I don't mind. She was beautiful, wasn't she? He said, his voice far away. Everything a man's supposed to want. Ruthie's throat tightened. Yeah, she was. 8 years ago, I thought I'd die when she left, he said. Thought my life was over. Funny how things work out. If she'd stayed, I wouldn't have met Elizabeth or had Tommy even for a little while. And you wouldn't be here now, Ruthie said softly. No, he agreed. And that'd be a shame because I'm starting to think this is where I'm meant to be. Their eyes met in the dim light, and Ruthie felt something new between them, a spark, not ready to be named. Outside, the Texas wind whispered, hinting at change. October brought cooler mornings and golden light that made the ranch glow. Ruthie had been at Blackbriar 6 weeks, and the house felt alive again, with clinking dishes, whistling kettles, and her soft humming. While tidying Wade's desk, she found a photo tucked in a ledger. It showed a younger Wade, happy, with a beautiful woman holding a chubby baby. Elizabeth and Tommy frozen in a joyful moment. Wade's smile was real, unscarred by loss. Elizabeth looked content, in love with her life. Tommy was laughing, reaching for the camera. You found it? Wade said from the doorway, his face blank. Ruthie hadn't heard him come in. Sorry, she said, moving to put it back. I wasn't snooping. It fell out. It's okay, he said, stepping closer, eyes on the photo. I forgot I hid it there. They were beautiful, Ruthie said softly. Yeah, Wade said, taking the photo carefully. This was before my last cattle drive. Tommy was 18 months just walking. Elizabeth was... He swallowed hard. She was pregnant with our second child, but we didn't know yet. Ruthie's heart hurt. What happened? I was gone 3 months, he said, his voice flat. When I got back, she was so sick she could barely stand. Lost the baby at 4 months. The doctor said her body never got better. That's why Tommy's birth was so hard, why she didn't make it. You blame yourself, Ruthie said. Not a question. He didn't deny it. If I hadn't gone, if I'd been here when she got sick, maybe things would have been different. Or maybe not, Ruthie said gently. Sometimes bad things just happen, Wade. No one to blame. He looked at her in the lamplight. You sound like you know. She hesitated, then spoke. I was engaged once to a good man who loved me despite my dad's debts, but his family wanted him to marry someone else. They said I was after his money, that I'd ruin their name. She touched her cameo. When rumors started in town, he believed them, dumped me like I was nothing. What rumors? Wade asked. That I was with a married man, that I wasn't trustworthy, she said, her voice steady but hurt. It was all lies, but truth doesn't matter when people believe the worst. Wade set the photo down and faced her. Is that why you left? Twice, she said. Each time I thought I could start over, but the rumors followed. Stories grow bigger every time they're told. She met his eyes. I'm not what people in town think, Wade, but I'm not the innocent girl I used to be either. Scandal toughens you. Good, Wade said firmly. Innocent girls don't survive in this world. Strong women do. His words warmed her. You think I'm strong? Among other things, he said, thoughtful. You stayed when Sarah offered me a different life. You didn't try to make me choose you. You let me decide. Because anything else wouldn't be real, Ruthie said. I want to be chosen, Wade, not picked because I'm here. They stood close, his gray eyes flecked with gold. For a moment, she thought he'd kiss her. Instead, he touched her cheek gently. You're not just here, he said. You're needed. There's a difference. Horses outside broke the moment. Wade looked out, alert. 3 riders coming fast. They went outside, Wade's hand on his gun. The riders were Jimmy from town and 2 others Ruthie knew from the store. Mr. Langston, Jimmy said, jumping off his horse. Morton bought the Becker place today, paid cash, deal's done. Wade's face hardened. What? Else? He's asking about water rights, who owns what by the creek, Jimmy said. And about you, your money, debts if you'd sell. Hell no, Wade said. That's what folks told him, Jimmy said. But he just smiled, said, everyone's got a price, and he'll find yours. After they left, Wade stared toward the Becker land, tense. Ruthie stepped closer. What'll you do? Whatever I have to, he said, his voice flat. Morton thinks he can scare me. Into selling, he's wrong. Wade, she said, touching his arm. What happened with you and Morton in the war? He was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. We were in a scout unit deep in enemy land, he said. Got cut off during a retreat. Morton was hurt, couldn't move fast. His fists clenched. I could have left him to save myself or stayed and risked us both. I stayed, carried him 20 miles through enemy land. Nearly died doing it. His laugh was bitter. Should have left him. Would have saved a lot of trouble. You don't mean that, Ruthie said. Don't I? He said, his eyes hard. You don't know Silas, Ruthie. He's not just mean, he's poison. Everything he touches dies. Now he's here, threatening all I have left. She saw a coldness in him, like old violence waiting to break free. Promise me something, she said. What? Promise you won't do anything dumb, she said. Don't let anger make your choices. He studied her in the fading light. You're worried. About me? Yeah, she said, blushing but not looking away. You matter to me, more than I should probably say. Wade's face softened. He cupped her face, his thumbs gentle on her cheeks. Ruthie, he said, her name soft like a prayer. He kissed her, warm and gentle, tasting of coffee. The kiss was soft, asking, and when she kissed back, he sighed. Against her lips. When they pulled apart, they stayed close, foreheads touching. I haven't felt this way since Elizabeth, Wade whispered. Didn't think I could again. I've never felt like this, Ruthie said. What I thought was love before. It was nothing like this. Wade looked at her serious. I can't promise an easy life, Ruthie. Morton's gonna cause trouble, and I'm not easy to love. I'm scarred, stubborn, and carry too much sadness. And I'm a woman with a bad reputation who takes jobs nobody wants, she said, smiling. We're a good match, flaws and all. He laughed, a real laugh that changed his whole face. When you put it like that, Wade, she said, serious again. Whatever Morton does, we'll face it together. But promise you'll choose healing over revenge. He searched her eyes, seeing her strength. I promise, he said. But if he threatens you, all bets are off. Fair enough, she said, kissing him again. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. As they walked back to the house, hand in hand, they didn't see Silas Morton watching from a ridge, his face angry and jealous. He'd expected Wade to be broken, easy to beat. Instead, he found a man healing, with someone worth fighting for. That had to change. The first frost came early, silvering the grass and making the horse's breath puff in the cold. Ruthie woke to find Wade gone, but he'd left coffee brewing and a note. Gone to check South Pasture, back by noon. She smiled at his thoughtfulness, a sign of how close they'd grown since their kiss. They moved like a long married couple, but every touch still felt new. While hanging laundry, she saw a rider coming from town, not one of Wade's usual visitors, but a fancy stranger on a fine horse. Up close, he was handsome in his 40s with silver hair and a bossy air. Miss Carter, I presume, he said, getting off his horse smoothly. I'm Silas Morton. You work for Wade Langston. This was the man worrying Wade. Morton's smile was fake, like a snake's. Mr. Morton, Ruthie said, keeping her voice calm. Wade's not here. I wanted to talk to you, Morton said, his smile growing. I heard you've brought life to this place, made Wade almost human again. I'm just the housekeeper, Ruthie said carefully. Are you? Morton's eyes were sharp. Wade doesn't seem like a man who gets close to just anyone. Ruthie felt cold. What do you want, Mr. Morton? Straight to the point, he said, stepping closer, making her uncomfortable. I want to make you an offer, a good one. I'm not interested, she said. Hear me out, he said, his tone sharp. I know about your past. The scandal in Virginia, the adultery rumors, getting run out of 2 towns. Must be tiring, always watching your back. Ruthie's blood froze. How do you... I make it my business to know, he said, pulling out a paper. This is a statement from Richard Peyton, your old fiancé. It says you weren't exactly proper. Very damaging. Ruthie's hands shook. Richard, the man who dumped her. That's a lie, she said. Truth doesn't matter, Morton said, his smile cruel. What matters is what people believe. Imagine how Cedar Falls would react to your scandal. Imagine how Wade would react. Wade knows my past, she said. Does he? Morton said, his voice smooth but mean. Does he know about the hotel room in Richmond? The married man who said you tricked him? Men forgive small mistakes, but proof of bad behavior? That's different. Ruthie stood tall, strong. What do you want? Convince Wade to sell me this ranch, he said. You've got power. Over him? Use it. I'll keep your past secret, and you'll get enough money to start over somewhere nice. And if I say no, Morton's nice act dropped, showing something ugly. I'll ruin you both. Wade first by showing him what kind of woman you are, then you, by telling everyone from here to Mexico what you really are. You're awful, Ruthie said, angry. I'm practical, he said. Wade has what I want, and I'll do anything to get it. You're just a tool, Miss Carter. The question is, are you smart enough to take a good deal? Get off this land, she said, her voice shaking with rage. Now, Morton shrugged, unbothered. You've got a week to decide. After that, I'll share Richard's story with the newspapers. He rode off, leaving Ruthie weak on the porch steps. She'd seen enough of the paper to know it had Richard's signature. Whatever lies he told would destroy her, and Wade's trust in her. When Wade came back an hour later, he saw her pale face and rushed to her. What's wrong? Nothing, she lied, faking a smile. Just tired. The cold hurts my bones. He didn't buy it. You look like you saw a ghost. She had, the ghost of her past, back to haunt her just when she'd found happiness. But she couldn't tell Wade yet, not until she knew how to fight Morton without losing everything. I'm fine, she said, taking his hand as he helped her up. Just need coffee and warmth. That night by the fire, Wade was quiet, glancing at her like he wanted to say something. "Ruthie," he said finally, "I want to show you something." He went upstairs and came back with a small wooden box. Inside was a simple silver locket, old but pretty. "This was Elizabeth's," he said. "Her mom gave it to her on our wedding day." He opened it, showing a pressed rose from her wedding bouquet. Ruthie's eyes watered. "Why show me this?" "Because I want you to have it," he said, his voice steady. "Elizabeth's been gone 4 years, and I've held on to her memory so tight I forgot how to live. But you showed me loving someone new doesn't mean forgetting the old." He fastened the locket around her neck. "I love you, Ruthie Bell Carter, not because you're like Elizabeth, but because you're you, strong, stubborn, brave enough to take this job nobody wanted." Ruthie touched the locket, feeling its promise. "I love you too," she whispered. For a moment, Morton's threat felt far away, but as Wade kissed her goodnight, she sat by the fire, the locket heavy, her heart heavier with secrets. She had 6 days to save the man she loved from her past, or watch their happiness fall apart. The answer came in Wade's dad's old desk. Ruthie had avoided the study since Morton's visit, her mind stuck on the deadline. But that morning, needing to keep busy, she started sorting Marcus Langston's papers, a job Wade had delayed for months. Marcus was organized, receipts, letters, all labeled neatly. While sorting legal papers, Ruthie found a thick envelope hidden in the desk, addressed to Wade in his dad's handwriting. It said to open only if someone challenged the ranch legally. The seal was unbroken, the paper old. Ruthie's heart raced. Wade was out with Pete, checking cattle, and wouldn't be back for hours. This envelope was important, hidden on purpose for a legal fight, like Morton's threat. She opened it, hands shaking. Inside was a letter from Marcus dated months before he died. "Wade, if you're reading this, someone's trying to take our ranch. I should have told you this years ago, but I was proud and stubborn, thinking the truth would stay buried. When you were born, your mom was sick. We thought we'd lose her, so I put the ranch in a trust, not for you, but for your first son. I thought it'd protect the land if I died, and I'd fix it later. But then the war came. You left, and I didn't change it. When Tommy was born, I saw the trust protected the ranch best. A kid can't be forced to sell like a man can. The papers are here. Tommy owned Blackbriar from the day he was born until he died. Now it's yours as his dad, but any sale needs court approval to be in the estate's best interest. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, son. I thought I was protecting you, but I might have made things harder. Use this wisely." Ruthie read it 3 times. Wade wasn't just the ranch's owner. He was guarding Tommy's estate. Any sale had to go through court, and judges protected kids, even ones who'd passed. The envelope had trust papers, court filings, and Tommy's birth certificate, all legal and proper. Horses outside snapped her out of it. Wade was riding hard toward the house, his face grim, with 3 strange men behind him. Ruthie grabbed the papers and ran out. Wade jumped off his horse, hand on his gun. "Get inside," he told her. "Lock the doors." "What's happening?" "Morton's men," he said. "They tried to scare the cattle toward the creek. They say Morton's serious about his offer." The 3 men stopped at the yard's edge, looking tough, like hired fighters. "Mr. Langston," one called, "Morton wants to know if you're thinking about his offer." "Tell Morton to go to hell," Wade said calmly. "Not very friendly," the man said with a mean smile. "Maybe you need time to think, or a push." Another man pulled out a lit torch. "Nice barn. Shame if it burned." Wade's gun was out fast. "Light one building and I'll shoot you before the fire catches." "3 of us. 1 of you," the man said. "You might get 1, maybe 2, but not all." "Want to bet?" Wade said. The standoff was tense. Ruthie saw the men weighing their orders against their lives. Finally, the leader raised his hand. "We're not starting a war today," he said. "Just passing a message. Morton's patience is thin. He wants an answer soon." After they left, Wade stayed in the yard, gun drawn. Ruthie stepped closer. "Wade, you need to see something." She took him to the study and gave him the letter. His face changed as he read, realization hitting. The ranch was Tommy's, he said, amazed. All this time it was my son's. Which means Morton can't force you to sell, Ruthie said. Any sale needs court approval, and they'll make sure it's for Tommy's estate. Even though he's gone, Wade said, sitting heavily, letter in hand. I thought I lost everything when they died, but Tommy's still protecting this place. Your dad was smart, Ruthie said. He knew this might happen. Wade looked at her, eyes shiny. This changes everything. Morton's threats, his tricks, they don't work now. Ruthie agreed, but a chill hit her. Morton wouldn't give up easily. That torch wasn't just a threat, it was a promise. We need to get these papers to a lawyer, Wade said, folding the letter. Make sure it's all official. And tell folks in town. The more who know, the harder it is for Morton. He stopped, looking past her. Smoke was rising from the south pasture. Damn it! Wade growled, grabbing his hat. They set the grass on fire! Ruthie followed him out, seeing the danger. A grass fire in dry October could burn the whole. Ranch fast! If it hit the barns, hey! Get buckets from the kitchen, Wade yelled, running to the barn. Fill anything that holds water. I'll get the horses. Ruthie raced to obey, realizing Morton's plan. He couldn't win legally, so he'd burn the ranch, ruin it, then buy the ashes cheap. The wind pushed the fire toward the ranch's heart. Old Pete rode up, face black with soot. The fight for Blackbriar had started, and Morton struck first. But as Ruthie filled buckets, she felt hope. They had the law and something worth fighting for. Tommy's legacy wouldn't burn, not if they could help it. It took 6 hours to stop the fire. They lost 100 acres of grazing land. Wade stood at the edge of the burned field, face dirty, looking defeated. Could have been worse, Pete said, not sounding sure. Could have taken everything, Wade said. Morton's just starting. Ruthie sat on a log, exhausted, her dress ruined, hands blistered. But she felt proud. They'd saved the buildings, the cattle. What mattered? The land would grow back. We need help, she said. We can't fight Morton alone. Wade's jaw tightened. I won't ask others to risk their lives for my fight. It's not just yours, Pete said. If Morton gets in, he'll go after every small rancher here. Folks know that, even if they're scared to say it. Besides, Ruthie said, you might not have to ask. Horses came up the road. Not Morton's men, but local ranchers. Their leader, Tom Harrison, was old and weathered. He got off his horse and shook Wade's hand. Wade, he said, I'm Tom Harrison from the ranch 10 miles north. Saw the smoke. We came to help, but looks like you handled it. For now, Wade said. Morton's not done. No, Harrison said. That's why we're here. Morton's been sniffing around my place, asking about water rights, land prices. He's got big plans, bad ones. Another man, Jake Miller, stepped up. He offered to buy my land last week. Said if I didn't take it, I wouldn't get another chance. How many of you has he bothered? Wade asked. Almost everyone with good land, Harrison said. He's nice at first, but there's something cold in his eyes. Wade thought for a moment. There's something you need to know, he said. He told them about Tommy's trust, how it protected the ranch from forced sales. The men's faces lit up with hope. So he can't bully you into selling, Jake said, excited. It's got to go through court. Right, Wade said. His scare tactics are useless now, legally. But he doesn't know that, Harrison said. Wade's smile was sharp. No, he doesn't. They planned for an hour, sharing what they knew about Morton. He wasn't just buying land. He was targeting anyone who'd fight him using money, threats, and pressure. He's got big money, Harrison said. And his men aren't just workers, they're hired fighters. All the more reason to stick together, Wade said. He can't scare us all. But Ruthie saw worry in his eyes. These were farmers, not gunmen. If Morton got nastier, after the men left, promising to watch out for each other, Wade and Ruthie walked back to the house. The smell of burned grass lingered. There's something else, Wade said on the porch. Morton won't stop at burning fields when he learns legal tricks won't work. He'll get personal. Ruthie's stomach twisted, thinking of Morton's threats about her past. What do you mean? He'll look for weaknesses, people we care about, secrets we hide, Wade said, turning to her. Ruthie, if there's anything in your past he could use against us, I need to know. Her heart broke, looking into his honest eyes. Wade, whatever it is, we'll face it together. But I need the truth. She took a deep breath and told him everything. Richard Peyton, his family's objections, the adultery rumors, Morton's visit, his threats. Wade's face darkened as she spoke. When she finished, he was quiet. "Are the accusations true?" he asked. "No," she said, meeting his eyes. "But Morton's evidence might convince people, ruin me, and hurt you too." Wade's fists clenched. "He came here while I was gone, threatened you in our home." "A home," she corrected softly. "And yeah, he did." "But Wade, I never did those things. It was all lies to get rid of me." "I believe you," he said instantly. "But Morton's right. Truth doesn't matter if people believe lies. We need to get ahead of this." "How?" "We tell the truth first," he said, his face lighting up. "All of it, before Morton spreads his lies. People here know you, respect you. If they hear your story from us, his lies won't hit as hard." Ruthie felt hope. "You think that'll work?" "It's our best shot," he said. He paused, then added, "And I think it's time I made you my wife." Ruthie's breath caught. "Wade." He knelt on the porch, holding her hands. "Ruthie Bellarta, you took a job nobody wanted and gave me my life back. You're brave, strong, stubborn, and I love you more than I thought I could. Will you marry me?" Tears blurred her eyes, but she saw his love, his certainty. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course." He stood and kissed her, long and deep, and for a moment Morton's threats faded. There was just them, two people who found each other, ready to face anything together, but they knew the hardest fight was coming. Morton wouldn't quit, and when he learned about the trust, he'd get dangerous. In his hotel room in Cedar Falls, Silas Morton wrote in a journal, "The grass fire was just a warning. If Wade thought that was the end, he was wrong. Morton hadn't come this far to lose to stubbornness and feelings. Wade had what he wanted, and Wade's new love only made winning sweeter. Tomorrow, the real fight would start, and Wade would learn some wounds never heal. They just wait to be ripped open." Morton smiled, closing his journal. Things were about to get fun. The attack hit at midnight on a dark November night. Ruthie woke to smoke and screaming horses. Through her window, an orange glow lit the sky. "Wade!" she yelled, shaking him. "The barn's on fire!" Wade was up fast, pulling on clothes. "Get dressed," he said. "Stay low and don't leave the house unless I say. This isn't just a fire, it's Morton's attack." Through the window, they saw old Pete running to the barn with buckets, tiny against the huge flames. The horses panicked in the corral as sparks fell. Wade grabbed his rifle, checking it. "If anyone strange comes to the house, you know where the shotgun is," he said, then ran to the fire. Ruthie dressed fast and stood at the front window, shotgun heavy in her hands. The barn was gone. Dry wood and hay burned too fast, but they could save the horses if they hurried. Wade was in the corral, calmly leading Rosie and the others to a safe pasture. Pete followed, determined. Then Ruthie saw riders, 6 men with bandanas hiding their faces, spreading out to surround the house. Morton had timed it perfectly, with Wade and Pete at the fire. The house was open. The front door burst open as Ruthie raised the shotgun. The first man took the blast and fell, without a sound. The second dove aside, raising his gun. "Drop it, lady, or we burn this place down," he said. "Like you haven't tried," Ruthie said, loading another shell. The standoff broke when Wade's voice cut through. "You're on my land," he said, his rifle aimed, Pete beside him. In the firelight, Wade looked fierce, his eyes like flames. "Morton sent you," he said, not asking. One man, braver or dumber, spoke. "Morton wants what's fair. Sell him the ranch and nobody else gets hurt." "Nobody else?" Wade said, calm but deadly. "What about my barn, my hay, my horses that could have died?" "Just persuasion," the man said. "This is real. You've got till dawn. Sell or watch everything burn." Wade stepped closer, rifle steady. "Here's my offer. Leave now, or I shoot." "You all?" "3 of us, 2 of you," another said. "You forgot me," Ruthie said from the doorway, shotgun firm. "This is our home. We'll fight for it." The leader looked nervous. This wasn't the easy job they expected. The barn, Burned, but the horses were safe and the house wasn't touched. This ain't over, he said, backing to their horses. Morton's got lawyers, money, power. He'll win. Tell Morton, Wade said. Tommy Langston's dad doesn't deal with arsonists or killers. This ranch is my son's memory, and I'll die before I let it go. After they left, Wade and Pete worked all night to stop the fire from spreading. By morning, the barn was ashes, but the house, animals, and people were safe. Ruthie made coffee in the kitchen, hands shaking from exhaustion and shock. She'd killed a man last night, her first time, and it was hitting her hard. Wade found her staring out the window at the ruins. He hugged her from behind, and she leaned into him. "You saved us," he said. "If you hadn't been ready, I couldn't let them hurt you," she whispered, "or take our home." He turned her to face him, checking her in the light. "You okay? After what you did?" "I'm okay," she said, meaning it. "I did what I had to for our home, our future." Through the window, they saw Pete leading horses back, heard cows mooing, felt the house's solid floor. Morton had shown he'd burn and kill to win, but he'd underestimated them. The war wasn't over, but they'd won this round. As Wade held her, Ruthie knew they'd face the next fight together. 3 days later, the fight came to Cedar Falls. Wade insisted. They go to town to file the trust papers and announce their engagement. If Morton wanted a fight, Wade wanted it public, with witnesses. As they left the courthouse, Morton appeared with 2 lawyer-looking men, his face calm but eyes burning when he saw Wade's arm around Ruthie. "Langston," Morton said, voice smooth. "I hear congratulations are in order." "Word travels fast," Wade said coolly. "It does," Morton said, his smile sharp. "I also heard about your dad's trust trick. Surprising. Not small," Wade said. "Makes your offers." "Pointless," Morton's calm cracked. "You think a paper will save you? Hiding behind a dead kid's rights makes you safe?" The word stung, and Ruthie felt Wade tense. But he stayed steady. "My son's memory is worth more than your money and threats." "Your son," Morton laughed mean. "Ever wonder if he was really yours?" The town went quiet, people watching the showdown. "What did you say?" Wade's voice was low, dangerous. Morton leaned in, loud enough for the crowd. "Elizabeth was lonely, married to a man gone for months. A beautiful woman with needs. You think she was alone all those nights?" Wade's hand went to his gun, but Ruthie grabbed his wrist. "Don't," she whispered. "He wants you to fight. That's his plan." Morton smiled. "Smart housekeeper. She gets how this works." He pulled out a paper. "This is from Dr. Benjamin Hayes, who saw Elizabeth when she was pregnant with Tommy. Says the boy came a month early. Raises questions about when he was conceived." "You're lying," Wade said. "Am I?" Morton said. Hayes was clear about dates and Elizabeth's guilt. "Must be hard carrying another man's kid." "Enough," Sarah Mitchell said, pushing through the crowd to stand with Wade and Ruthie. "I've had enough of your lies, Mr. Morton." Tom Harrison and Jake Miller joined her, along with other ranchers. Morton had lawyers and gunmen, but Wade had neighbors who'd stand by him. Morton looked at the group, thinking fast. "This isn't over, Langston," he said. "Papers can be fought, trusts broken, reputations ruined." His eyes slid to Ruthie. "Try it," Wade said, hand on his gun. "Spread lies about my wife, burn my land. Go ahead, but I'm not the broken man you thought. I've got something to protect now, and I won't let a snake like you take it." He pulled out an old photo, him and a younger Morton in army uniforms, smiling. "The irony, Silas," Wade said. "I saved your life in the war because I thought you were worth it. I was wrong." He tore the photo, letting it fall. "I won't make that mistake again." Wade took Ruthie's arm and walked to their wagon, the crowd parting with respect for a man who chose love over revenge. But Ruthie glanced back. Morton stood in the street, furious, desperate. They'd won this fight, but the war wasn't done. 6 months later, Ruthie stood in the new barn's doorway, watching Wade finish a sign. It was fresh pine, with neat black letters. Blackbriar Ranch, Wade and Ruthie Langston. It was their wedding day. The barn was decorated with wildflowers and ribbons, thanks to Sarah Mitchell. Half the county came, filling the space with laughter, music, and joy the ranch hadn't seen in years. Ruthie wore her mom's wedding dress, altered to fit, with Elizabeth's locket. It felt right, honoring the past and embracing the future. "It's perfect," she said, kissing Wade. "We're perfect," he said, his eyes free of grief. "Just a man in love." The ceremony was simple, with a preacher, Pete as best man, and Sarah as matron of honor. Wade slid a gold ring he'd made onto Ruthie's finger, crafted with care. She felt her old self, Ruthie Bell Carter, the woman with no place, fade. She was Ruthie Langston, wife, partner, part of a community that accepted her. The party went. Late, with Tom Harrison's fiddle, tons of food, and kids running around. As the sun set, painting the sky pink and gold, Wade found Ruthie on the porch steps, watching the fun. "No regrets?" he asked, sitting beside her. "About marrying you? Taking this job? Fighting off arsonists?" She smiled. "Not one." Wade was quiet, then said, "I visited Tommy's grave this morning." Ruthie looked at him, seeing peace, not pain. "How was that?" "Good, right," he said. "I told him about you, the wedding, how you brought life back here. I think he'd like you, Elizabeth too." "I hope so," she said. "I'm taking care of their family after all. And mine." Wade took her hand. "Ruthie, there's something I should have said sooner. When Morton questioned if Tommy was mine, it doesn't matter. Even if it was true, which I don't believe. Tommy was my son, and Elizabeth was my wife, no matter what lies people tell." "Wade, let me finish," he said. "Family isn't just blood, it's choice, showing up every day, loving someone's strengths and flaws. You chose this place, me, us. That makes you family more than blood ever could." Tears stung her eyes. "You're gonna make me cry on my wedding day. Happy tears, I hope," he said. "The happiest," she said. They watched the stars come out as a slow waltz played in the barn. "Mrs. Langston," Wade said, standing and offering his hand. "Dance with your husband?" "Thought you'd never ask," she said. Wade was a great dancer, leading her smoothly. "Where'd you learn this?" she asked. "Elizabeth taught me," he said, smiling warmly. "Said a man should know how to dance with his wife." "I like that she taught you," Ruthie said. "I like that she's part of us." "She always will be," Wade said. "Her and Tommy, they're part of this ranch's heart." As they danced, Ruthie thought about her journey, the scandal that pushed her away, the job nobody wanted, how two broken people became whole together. Morton had left town after their showdown, his threats empty as his gunmen found easier targets. The ranchers had teamed up, protecting each other. Blackbriar Ranch was a symbol now, that people could heal, build something beautiful from pain. As Wade spun her, Ruthie saw the new sign through the barn doors. Tomorrow they'd start their life as husband and wife, filling the house with new memories. She'd taken the job nobody wanted and found a home, a purpose, a love strong enough for any storm. The music played, and Ruthie Langston danced with her husband under the Texas stars, surrounded by friends, knowing she was exactly where she belonged.